Chapter 541, Guarded Secret. Okay, please follow me then. Let's hurry up so you two don't have to worry anymore, Yi Shu added after Lord Grimm finished up the deal with the two guild masters. In the meantime, he was already slipping into the depths of the swamp. Taking Yi Shu's words seriously, Changing Spring and Three World Six Paths followed him without a moment's delay, leading their groups away. They soon arrived at the scene. Wei Chen's windward formation was leading 10 to 20 players, who were tangled in a fierce fight. Changing Spring and Three World Six Paths were all veterans at boss fights. With a few glances, they knew right away that Wei Chen's group was mainly trying to control the boss instead of rushing to kill it. Their worrying hearts finally settled down. Clearly, the other party had been dragging out the fight until the deal could be sealed. Having roamed Heavenly Domain for so long, Wei Chen knew the big shots from the big guilds better than Yi Shu did. He saw Changing Spring and Three World Six Paths names a while ago. With a skillful dash, Windward Formation moved through the battlefield and greeted the newcomers enthusiastically. Guild leader, do you want to take over the aggro? Or do you prefer to have us join your party? Relax, additional service won't cost you any extra. That won't be needed, Changing Spring replied coldly. Taking it as a signal, people from Blue Brook and Samara charged at the boss. You two guilds are trying to split one boss? This is going to be intense, Wei Chen muttered his comment while stopping his people from attacking the boss. The transition that followed went smoothly since everyone was familiar with the process. At the same time, Changing Spring was starting to believe that the extremely shameless person mentioned by Yi Shu might actually exist. Why? Because the person known as Windward Formation was roaming and laughing directly in front of him without feeling any discomfort whatsoever, even though the guild tag of Blue Brook Guild hovered above his character's head. Even if he were a spy, he should still feel somewhat uncomfortable right now. Even if this was only in-game, as a spy, one should still have trouble calling themselves the police righteously. The guilt of betraying those around them would weigh heavily upon their hearts no matter what, so all the spies had excellent mental strength. The guy in front of him was undoubtedly the best candidate for a spy there was. He was perfectly at ease even when he was directly exposed in front of his own guild leader. Although the transition finished quickly, when Wei Chen and his people backed down, they still looked very anxious, as if the players from Blue Brook and Samsara would turn and kill them right away to vent their anger. To Changing Spring, the sight was funny and annoying. For competitions in an online game, killing and fighting was a rather ineffective method. If a battle could actually resolve all the future threat the group in front of him posed, Changing Spring would start a world war without any hesitation. Regrettably, even if he were to beat them here, what could he possibly achieve? If it was a war fought between the big guilds, then victory would win glory for his own guild. On the other hand, killing this group of nobodies would only tarnish his guild's name. Being one of the top elites in the game for so long, Changing Spring had long since passed the stage where he still needed to PK to vent his anger, yet people were still weary of him for these kinds of trivial matters. It only made Changing Spring feel that this group's character was particularly low. What? Aren't you people going to try to fight us? Wei Chen exclaimed in surprise when he realized that neither Blue Brook nor Samsara planned on doing anything to him or his group. They had left the battle zone perfectly unscathed. Is there such a need? Changing Spring retorted flatly. This is an online game. Scores ought to be settled quickly and directly. Even after such a great loss, instead of fighting it out, you people are still scheming around. What a killjoy. The way you people play is so boring, Wei Chen lamented. Wei Chen's words made Changing Spring fall into a long silence. At last, Changing Spring admitted, what you say is not entirely false, but we were never here to play in the first place. Haha, apparently you're quite smart. No wonder you're the guild leader of Blue Brook, Wei Chen praised. Haha, I'll remember you. Changing Spring didn't join the battle himself. His view was pointed at the other party the whole time. That's a must. If possible, I hope you won't kick me out of your guild though, Wei Chen replied. Why? Changing Spring asked. Because Blue Brook's benefits are really good and its fame is also quite useful, Wei Chen answered. Changing Spring was speechless. He was fully expecting some spectacular reasoning, but all he got was this kind of honesty instead. Thus, when he was moving his view, he kicked those in Blue Brook all out decisively. F***K. Shameless. With such a big guild, do you honestly need to empty up a few slots that badly? Wei Chen swore as he drifted away with the group. Finally, they all disappeared into the swamp. Let me see what goodies you've got. Shortly after they left, Wei Chen was asking Yishu impatiently, drooling in anticipation. Here, Yishu sent an exchange request over and gave Wei Chen the materials he got from the two guild leaders. This is it? Why didn't you use the list I sent you? Wei Chen was unexpectedly disgruntled with the results, but these were all that the guild leaders could manage with great difficulty. Get some standards, why don't you? Is it even possible for them to accept your list? Yishu scolded. Under that kind of conditions, it was worth a try, Wei Chen refuted. And this is the result of your attempt, Yishu replied. It's so-so, but it's still better than what you would have gotten before. Weakling, Wei Chen argued. That's because I'm not as shameless as you are, Yishu retorted. This is completely shameless? If I had more people, I would have planned an ambush on the way here and kill their delivery person. That would have been spectacular. Could they count that loss on me? Wei Chen proposed. No human can stop you now. Yishu took a deep breath and lamented. Enough already. Give Death Hand back to me. I'm going to upgrade it. Wei Chen changed the subject. Are you sure you won't destroy it? Yishu asked. F***CK off. Stop cursing me, Wei Chen yelled back. You're not confident, Yishu concluded. Based on my years of research, I think it should be fine, Wei Chen answered. Clearly, you've never tried, Yishu pointed out. But I have experience, Wei Chen insisted. The experience of an antique? F***CK off. I'm not going to argue with you. Hurry up and give Death Hand back to me. Let me upgrade the weapon first. We have to work for the material needed for the next upgrade anyways. I don't know if we'll be lucky enough to find another boss, Wei Chen sighed. That's going to be hard. With all the hidden rules in the game, we're no better than the big shots from the big guilds. Truthfully speaking, they didn't pay much attention to us before. They thought that the heavenly domain wasn't like the normal servers. They believe that they have more power here, and we are just a tiny group with no real power, but after this, they will probably start to see us as a threat towards their bosses. If they actually spend some effort on making things difficult for us, we might actually suffer a lot from it. Yishu explained. True. After all, bosses are different. Just killing one takes a lot of time. Hijacking a boss is more troublesome than hijacking a guild leader, Wei Chen agreed. Actually, killing guild leaders would be nice too, but the problem is that guild leaders only drop equipment, not materials, Yishu lamented. If only we know who got the material every time they killed a boss, then that would be great. We wouldn't have to kill the bosses anymore. We just need to kill that player, Wei Chen added. That would still be difficult. Killing the person won't give you the right thing every time, Yishu commented. If killing them doesn't drop it, then we'll just keep on killing, Wei Chen answered. Should we try it next time? Yishu offered. But we need to find out who picked up the material. That's too hard, Wei Chen sighed. We just need a spy among the higher-ups, Yishu spoke. The two turned around and looked at the same time then. Wei Chen's friends stood behind his windward formation. By now, almost all of their guild titles had disappeared. It was not because they were hiding them, but because they got kicked out. There were a few exceptions though, they were in Excellent Dynasty or Samsara. None of Wei Chen's players from these two guilds had joined the fight, so the spies in these two guilds weren't exposed. We're probably on their blacklist now. This is problematic, Wei Chen frowned. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. You can just switch accounts. I checked. Luckily, in your group, everyone has a different class, right? Well, it just happens so that I have a bunch of level 70 empty accounts. I can give those accounts to your people. You can then transfer over your equipment, then that should settle it, Yishu offered. F***CK. Do you know that our accounts all have really high amounts of skill points? Wei Chen complained. Really? How high? About 4,700, Wei Chen answered. Why is it so high? Yishu exclaimed. With the regular leveling and main quests, a character would always end up with exactly 4,000 skill points. The additional skill points were gained under random conditions from skill books, hidden quests, and event rewards. Glory had a long history. Yishu wouldn't be surprised to see some regular characters in the game actually had an amount of skill points comparable to the godly characters. After all, this kind of thing depended solely on luck. However, those around Wei Chen all had around 4,700 skill points. Now that was shocking. This was all the result of good luck? Such good fortune for all 20 or so? Clearly, this was no longer the result of luck. There must have been some skill involved in it. This is my guarded secret, Wei Chen boasted. Nonsense. More than 20 people already know this. How can you call that a guarded secret? Yi Shu snapped. Speaking about it, skill points had been a headache for Yi Shu. This was something that could only rely on luck. No one could guarantee how a character would end up. The only solution to this problem was money. On top of that, money couldn't actually buy skill points. It could only be used to buy the accounts with really high skill points. Some would say, all problems that could be solved with money are not problems. Clearly, those who say that are all rich people. For those who use money to build teams, this is truly not too big of an issue. Even though there are very few accounts with such high skill points, Glory had been established for a long time and it had a large population of players, there are still a decent number of accounts with high skill points. Still, to Yi Shu, who was starting over with nothing in hand, this was a very grave issue. The price for accounts with high skill points could be as high as the price of a silver-class weapons. Let alone a full team of them, Yi Shu couldn't afford a single one. Who would have thought that Wei Chen, who was right in front of him, would have a way to stack skill points? This would not only solve an urgent problem for Yi Shu, but it would also bring a large amount of fortune to him. In that moment, Yi Shu only had one wish: let's hope this shameless guy isn't bragging, or that the guarded secret is as worthless as I bought them. Chapter 542, Follow Up. Ha ha ha, you wanna know? Let this senior think of something for you to do and then I'll consider telling you. Wei Chen raised his eyebrows. Old thing, who has your death hand? Yi Shu laughed grimly. F***ck, Wei Chen realized that he had been too pleased with himself and had forgotten something so important. You win. Wei Chen clearly valued his silver weapon. His years of hard work couldn't be faked. Hurry up and tell me. You should know. In Glory, when certain conditions are met, some items can be dropped 100% of the time, Wei Chen said. As an experienced expert, Yi Shu understood what Wei Chen meant. You're saying kill books can also be dropped in a similar way? Yes, but it's still not guaranteed. At best, it can increase the drop chance, Wei Chen answered. Big brother, isn't that just a myth? Yi Shu felt a bit confused. Time range, fixed input sequence, fixed kill order, etc. These weren't proven facts in Glory, but rather beliefs of some players. These illogical methods were hard to believe. On the other hand, setting up certain conditions to hit out equipment had a 100% chance and could be proven through testing. All of these methods made sense too. For example, when Yi Shu first started playing the game from scratch, the method to guarantee the hidden boss's ornamental sword in the beginner village was to repeatedly hit the sword's belt. This could be explained through logic. If the sword belt broke, the sword would drop. A lot of these types of methods existed in Glory. However, Wei Chen's method only increased the drop chance. In an instant, his method felt somewhat implausible. How could you know whether the drop chance actually increased or not? A 5% drop rate didn't mean that you would be guaranteed 5 drops out of 100 kills. Each drop was an independent event after all. Out of 1,000 times, you might not get any drops in 950 kills, but you could get 50 drops in the last 50 kills and it would still be considered a 5% drop rate. As a result, for drop rates, apart from 100% or 0%, it was difficult to estimate an exact number. Wei Chen only mentioned increasing the drop chance. His method seemed more like a myth than a fact. Myth? Don't all of these characters with around 4,700 skill points prove that it's not a myth? Wei Chen refuted. Then tell me, how do you do it? Yi Shu asked. Okay, we have to start with the relationship between people and Glory. Death hand, Yi Shu spoke bluntly. D*MMIT, Wei Chen grit his teeth. Hurry up and tell me. Yi Shu held a stick and he didn't have the patience to wait. There's a lot of stuff. I'll just send you a doc. Wei Chen didn't continue stalling. He knew that what he had was very important. If the two of them were going to create a team with the goal of becoming champions, then just having outstanding players wasn't enough. The characters had to be strong enough too. Okay, send it to me. I'll study it, Yi Shu said. You don't trust this brother's research? You haven't touched the game very much in these past few years. Glory is an online game, after all. You can still learn a lot from the web. The training methods used by teams are becoming more and more mature, but they're also moving farther and farther away from the game. That's not good, Wei Chen spoke his thoughts. It sounds like you've discovered a lot in these past few years, Yi Shu asked. I have, definitely things that you guys in the pro scene probably wouldn't know, Wei Chen said confidently. So thank me for giving you a chance to go back on stage, Yi Shu said. Wei Chen went silent for a long time, but then said, F***ck off. Hurry up and give me my death hand back. It's in the city storage. I'll go grab it, Yi Shu said. Wait, something doesn't feel right up ahead. Just as they were about to leave Poison Fang Swamp, Windward Formation suddenly stopped to hear for any sounds of movement. Yeah, something feels off, Yi Shu said. The two experienced players could tell the situation wasn't normal. It's probably those guilds from before. They probably left some people behind to see what we're up to, Wei Chen guessed. It looks like there are quite a lot of people, Yi Shu looked around. These people hadn't exposed themselves yet, but they weren't making too much of an effort to stay hidden either. They had clearly completed an encirclement, ready to pounce at any time. It seems like breaking out will be a bit difficult, Wei Chen said. I agree. You go first, Wei Chen said. Of course, Yi Shu logged off. F***ck, can't you say something nice, Wei Chen cursed in QQ. TCH. We still need to play tricks with each other? We all know it's true, so why waste time, Yi Shu asked. UF***cker. You said you'd give us accounts. Was that for real? Wei Chen asked. Of course. You still have time to chat, Yi Shu asked back. The enemies aren't moving. I'm not moving. It's not like we need these accounts anymore. In a bit, this senior is going to fight with them and give them a taste of my amazingness, Wei Chen said. Seeing that I've logged off, that attack must have hurt them greatly, Yi Shu said. Don't be so happy. They might wait there until you log back on, Wei Chen warned. I doubt they'll spend all day waiting for me with so many people. Come rescue me when there are less people, Yi Shu said. Why should I rescue you? Wei Chen said. Yi Shu replied with 2 words, death hand. God d***mmit. This time, when you get out, you're going to return my death hand immediately. If you don't return it, I won't agree to anything you say ever again. I can't wait another minute, Wei Chen cursed. Hurry up and go fight them, Yi Shu said. Wait for my message, Wei Chen replied. In Poison Fang Swamp, the battle began. With Windward Formation at the head, a bunch of half-naked characters charged in a direction. After being kicked out of the guild, they were left half-naked. Half of their equipment had been taken back by the guild storage. Against these half-naked savages, the guilds calmly concentrated their firepower to kill them immediately. Who would have thought that this charge would be a fake? The instant the encirclement attacked, the two teams suddenly changed directions and started attacking in a frenzy. At this moment, the encirclement had already let out their attacks and couldn't take them back. Pooh! It was like a sword hitting a crucial point. However, the sword was too blunt and couldn't kill. It was still enough to injure though. On the other hand, these two teams attacked the encirclement and killed several people. Pick up their equipment, Wei Chen shouted. There wasn't many equipment on the ground. With 20 half-naked people scrambling for them, it seemed very uncivilized. Their scramble made the players making up the encirclement stare dumbly at them. They were all from big guilds and had discipline. It was hard for them to look at such shameless acts. During this period of disdain, all of the equipment laying on the ground had been swept clean. Wei Chen shouted again and the two teams separated with one on the left and the other on the right. Each team forced their way into one part of the encirclement. This time, the guild players fought back. They wouldn't let these savages pick up their items so easily. Their counterattack killed off several of them. This was a team battle. With a multitude of attacks coming at once, life and death was only a matter of seconds. Yi Shu wouldn't be able to remain in this type of battle. A level 54 character had limited strength. The battle that took place in Poison Fang Swamp didn't last long. It ended within minutes. All 20 players died. These players had been cursing the entire time and in a very ugly manner too. Their shouts often had to do with the reproductive system, but from their angry curses, they could also feel that they were happy and having fun. The enemies had finally been killed, but the guild players didn't feel happy at all. The enemies that they had killed didn't bear any resentment towards their killers, only pure passion for fighting. Right before they died, they often said things like, "You're washed clean now. Wait for Big Daddy to come for you." It made all of the guild players feel like they had been ridiculed. They looked at each other and couldn't find anything to be pleased about. At this moment, a system announcement came: Samsara had killed Swamp Hunter Lepu. What's this? When the guild leaders saw this message, their minds suddenly went blank. Hadn't Swamp Hunter Lepu been snatched away by Lord Grimm's gang? They even killed off a bunch of guys at Poison Fang Swamp's exit. Even though it was too bad that they weren't able to catch Lord Grimm, it was still a small win in their eyes. However, how come Samsara killed Swamp Hunter Lepu? They hadn't come to their senses yet, when a follow-up to the proof post in the Glory forums. The follow-up spoke of two things. 1. Ridiculing Blue Brook Guild had been a misunderstanding. In reality, this had all been done by the pest Lord Grimm. After learning the truth, Blue Brook Guild helped Samsara take the boss and, in accordance to the proof post, the boss was given to Samsara. 2. Samsara was the main topic. Even if they weren't going to fight for the boss, they had to fight for justice. Blue Brook Guild had proved everything was a misunderstanding, but in this type of situation, Samsara wouldn't cower. Excellent Dynasty wanted to enter by exploiting their weakness. Fine, Samsara would fight. Samsara wouldn't compromise for any reason. No matter the predicament, if they were going to kill, they would slaughter their way to the heavens. They would kill for justice. These two had videos and images as proof. Samsara's players stood up straight with pride as they watched Excellent Dynasty's players stoop down to pick up equipment and leave. All of it had been recorded. Didn't you say you couldn't understand this times deal? Do you understand now? Yi Shu said to Chen Guo. Chapter 543, Spies. Chen Guo looked a bit dumbstruck. She didn't understand it too thoroughly, but after seeing the two follow-up posts, she got a clearer idea of the whole picture. Blue Brook Guild's action had been forced. With the proof post, even if the guilds knew that Blue Brook Guild hadn't done it intentionally, without any concrete proof to back up their uninvolvement, they didn't mind putting the blame on Blue Brook Guild. This type of attack was much more valuable than a PvP match in the game. Blue Brook Guild had a club and a team behind them. Such an existence made up of 3 entities would be extremely difficult to harm through just PvP alone. On the other hand, revealing a scandal could weaken the popularity of one of these 3 entities and could be considered quite a heavy blow to their reputation. Blue Brook Guild clearly understood this point. As a result, they cleaned themselves of the matter, refusing to let the other guilds use this opportunity to attack them. Blue Brook Guild didn't have much of a choice. As for Samsara, Chen Guo saw the chain of shouting and cheering from Samsara fans underneath the post. There were quite a lot of other players praising the manliness of Samsara's actions too. She quickly realized the significance of the actions that Samsara had taken. When normal players played the game, they didn't care about the businesses of these club guilds. Today, Samsara had been cheated and used this to attract the sympathy of others. Afterwards, they used a battle to show their might. Other guilds might look at such actions with disgust, but it resonated well with the vast majority. People played the game to have fun. If they were cheated, they didn't want to go through some lengthy process in order to get revenge. They would rather take revenge immediately. Whether or not revenge was the answer was a completely different matter. Samsara went with what the people liked. Not only did they rally their own supporters, many neutral players had a deeper impression of Samsara now, especially with Samsara taking the boss. This was a perfect example of a main character taking action to achieve his goals. In the eyes of the people, the only word that could describe this was cool. However, after looking at it again, she suddenly felt a bit confused about one part. If that's the case, Blue Brook Guild needed Samsara as witnesses to clear their name, but Samsara didn't need Blue Brook Guild to do anything for them? If Blue Brook Guild was still the betrayer, then even if Samsara won the boss in the end, Samsara would look more powerful, right? Not bad, not bad. You must have improved a lot to think of this outcome, Yi Shu praised. Chen Guo rolled her eyes. She clearly didn't feel very accepting of his praise. Truthfully, she didn't have much interest in how the guilds operated. She preferred watching sick plays, killing in a single combo, etc. Samsara obviously doesn't want to be linked with Blue Brook Guild, but if their intents were seen through by Blue Brook Guild, then there's nothing they can really do about it. Blue Brook Guild refuses to part with them, and they couldn't take the boss, so to make a trade-off, they helped to clear Blue Brook Guild's name, Yi Shu explained. You saw that the two parties urgently needed the boss, so you struck a deal with them, Chen Guo asked. Yi Shu laughed bitterly. I had no choice. In our current situation, trying to compete with these guilds fairly is like asking a tiger for its skin. I don't have the time to slowly make business with them, which is why I have to resort to such shameless methods like this. You don't need to explain. I'm not looking down on you for doing it. Keep up the good work, Chen Guo said. With such a shameless guy like Old Wei to help me, it's like adding wings to a tiger, Yi Shu sighed. It's not like you're very merciful either, Chen Guo said. Don't say such nonsense, I'm nowhere near Old Wei's level of shamelessness, Yi Shu spoke solemnly. Chen Guo commented, you're really modest when it comes to stuff like this. On QQ, Wei Chen reported the death of his gang. All of these characters had to be abandoned, so he decided that they would look around and kill these guild players, so these abandoned accounts would gain some value. See, look how shameless he is, Yi Shu said to Chen Guo, while asking Wei Chen how he should send over the open accounts. How are we going to develop after this? Wei Chen was currently leading his team all over the place to attack the guild players. He was having quite a good time, playing while chatting with Yi Shu on QQ. I have a big plan, Yi Shu said. What big plan? Wei Chen said. I've decided to send you out as a spy, Yi Shu answered. I can't though, no? If I were to become a spy, wouldn't you be wasting my talents? Wei Chen objected. No, for such an unscrupulous guy like yourself, using you as a spy puts your talents to full use, Yi Shu honestly replied. Wouldn't you be a better fit then? Wei Chen said. My schemes and foresight aren't nearly as deep as yours, Yi Shu politely refuted. No, I'm older than you in age, but in terms of knowledge and glory, you will always be the superstar of experience and shamelessness. Even after you retired, you've deeply affected the later generation. You're not like me who stayed silent for all these years. Even Blue Brook Guild's dog of a leader didn't recognize this senior. Did Blue Rain not hang up a huge portrait of me in the Hall of Fame for those dogs to worship me? I'm to blame for that. If it weren't for me, you might have actually been able to win some fame during the 2 years and earned yourself a portrait in the Hall of Fame, but as the founder of Team Blue Rain, I believe your hard work and passion set the team's path for the future by becoming the powerful stepping stone for the later generation. One shouldn't be too unduly humble. Are you King illiterate? When was this senior ever too unduly humble? Flip open the Baidu dictionary and study how to use proverbs properly. Don't speak such nonsense to me. If you aren't too humble, then you'll just have to accept your job as a spy. Trust me, you have the ability to do the job well, Yi Shu said. Well, load of sh*t. This senior is saying this job is too easy for someone like myself. Stop pestering me, Wei Chen expressed. Obviously for a job as a normal spy, but this time, I'm going to be doing something big, Yi Shu said. How big? What's the point of having 1 or 2 spies? If we're sending in spies, we're going to send in a full group of them, Yi Shu said. Why? Look, with your skill, as long as you don't intentionally keep a low profile, even if you won't be able to become one of the core members that manage the guild, becoming a core member that leads teams shouldn't be a problem, right? When this happens, you can add your gang into the guild and we'll set up a group of spies in the guild. A single spy won't be able to get much information, but a guild's elite team should be able to access quite a lot of information, right? Yi Shu said. You really are too shameless. Not only do you want me to jump into a pit of fire, you even want all of my bros to jump in with me. How can say it's a pit of fire? Do you know the benefits of being in a guild? Yi Shu said. That's true. Without the extra stats and equipment from a large guild, our strength is too weak. It doesn't feel good. It seems like taking advantage of these benefits is not a bad idea. Yeah, it's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay, I'll do it. When will those account cards arrive? That depends on the delivery worker. Okay, when I get the account cards, I'll start. Do you have any recommendation as to which guild I should join? Which guild do you think would be the best? With this brother's skill, it doesn't matter. The guilds will be lining up to invite me. There's no need to consider whether or not I can do it. Then you decide. What about Samsara? Seeing today's actions, Samsara has quite the ambition. The guild wants to become more popular and they've been doing well in the competitive scene recently too. Samsara's actions this time might even have been orders from above. They want the attention in-game to coincide with their rise to the pro stage, Wei Chen said. It's a good choice. With greater ambition, there are more opportunities to join and develop. Samsara is not bad. I approve, Yi Shu said. B****, it sounds like you're approving my decision. This senior makes his own decisions, Wei Chen replied. This is the last time I'm going to remind you, Death Hand is still with me, Yi Shu replied. Right, don't you think that Samsara has a good chance of winning this season? Wei Chen quickly switched topics. Their momentum is strong and they clearly aspire to be champions. This year, they even got to host the All-Stars. They clearly plan on cementing their position in the pro scene this year. If you're talking about chances, all of the strong teams have a chance, but if you're talking about readiness and conviction, Samsara is looking quite strong. Speaking of which, Samsara didn't seem to be looking too strong for the first half of the split, Wei Chen said. That's part of their readiness. It's not easy starting off strong and keeping it up for the entire season. It's better to start slower, grow, and then burst forth at the end for the playoffs, Yi Shu said. So what you're saying is that you think Samsara is going to win? Yes, Yi Shu replied. Then should I put some money on it? Wei Chen said. What are you talking about? Over here, our underground gambling den has opened a spot for glory. I was planning on placing bets for who would win the playoffs, but I wasn't sure who to place bets on, Wei Chen explained. Quote. Chen Guo's back was sweating seeing these two talk trash to each other, while discussing their shameless plan to send a group of spies into another guild. When she suddenly saw the two chatting about the playoffs and how Yi Shu predicted Samsara to win, do you really think Samsara will win? If I were the one running the underground gambling den, I would definitely set Samsara's betting odds low, Yi Shu pointed to the screen. Chapter 544. Third follow-up. Blue Brook Guild had kept their name pristine. Samsara had gained more momentum. Overall, Samsara had benefited the most from this transaction. Blue Brook Guild could only preserve their current popularity, allowing their guild members know just how much they had suffered under Lord Grimm and his group's hand. Samsara's move had greatly increased their popularity, especially since the club also made a statement in an interview about the battle spirit team Samsara had. Even though the club never referred to the game, anyone would be able to piece the two together. The club mostly talked about the performance of the team during the current season. Samsara's recent achievements formed a backdrop which proved their spirit. Both the guild and club had made progress together and immediately garnered a great amount of attention. Many people began considering the probability of Samsara winning the championships this season. At this moment, no one would have thought that after these two follow-ups came out, that a third follow-up would appear. The main topic of the post: who gave you the power to put the boss at stake? The original poster heavily criticized the 8 guilds and their competition that staked the boss as the reward. The poster's reasoning was very simple: the boss didn't belong to the guilds. In theory, the boss belonged to all the players of Glory. Why did the guilds get to take the boss as their own and fight against each other with the boss as the reward? This post gave rise to a huge amount of commotion. It didn't matter whether the player was a fan or a supporter, everyone hoped to have the chance to kill this type of boss and obtain its potential drops. However, wild bosses weren't beings that could be killed by just anyone. Slightly weaker teams could even die against one. As a result, only the elite guild teams could successfully kill wild bosses with a high success rate. Club guilds were undoubtedly amongst the top among guilds and also valued wild bosses highly. Over the years, the wild bosses almost always fell into the hands of these club guilds. In reality, the club guilds already considered wild bosses as theirs. As soon as this post came out, controversy erupted. The reasoning was specious though. The club guilds had never declared that these bosses belonged to them alone. The boss belonged to whoever killed it. They had to care about their own images. If other players came to fight for the boss, they would kill the players or win the boss with higher contribution. In any case, if other came to stop them, they would fight back. They treated everyone equally when it came to wild bosses. Bosses belonged to all the players of Glory. Because of this, club guilds obviously had the right to kill bosses as well. Club guilds killed the bosses according to Glory's rules. If someone else stole the boss away from them, they wouldn't immediately attack and take revenge. The proof post hadn't been well written. It ignored the feelings of many players. The guilds felt that it was completely natural. The players thought so too, which was why no one had said anything about it until now. However, now that someone with a different perspective had come out, it immediately raised a lot of controversy. The club guild players naturally supported their own guilds. However, many players criticized the guild's inconsiderate conduct towards them. This post was much more shocking than Blue Brook Guilds or Samsara's follow-ups. This time, it not only struck a blow towards the 8 guilds involved, but also to all of the club guilds. The post also denounced how the club guilds only cared about the interests of their pro teams and restricted the freedom of their own players, treating them like slaves. This denunciation was a harsh statement. In response, the big guilds frantically defended themselves, talking about the benefits of being in a large guild. While defending themselves, they conducted an investigation on the original poster. They obviously wanted to know if this attack had been done by someone with other motives. Speaking of which, everyone had already begun suspecting a certain player. But after conducting their investigation, the poster hadn't hidden his history. He wasn't anyone particularly famous. Traces of him could be found all over the forums. It seemed like he was the type of player who liked to spread rumors. The big guilds didn't dare to relax their guards though. If it was just some random player talking trash, then they wouldn't be afraid at all, but if this player had other motives, they had to be ready to respond. Let alone the big guilds, even Chen Guo began to suspect a certain someone after seeing the ruckus caused by the post. "Is this your doing?" Chen Guo pointed at the screen and asked Yi Shu. Then again, she had not seen Yi Shu typing up anything like this earlier. Yi Shu took a quick look and shook his head, "No. Tisk tisk, the guilds are going crazy over this." Look, Chen Guo went back to the forum homepage for Yi Shu to see. The main page was filled with statements from the big guilds, defending themselves from the criticism they had just been plastered with, especially the part about treating their guild members as slaves. They had to give an explanation. Tisk tisk tisk, Yi Shu sighed, but didn't pay too much attention to it and continued to do his own work. He hadn't played much of the game in these last 2 days. Instead, he studied the document from Wei Chen on the fastest way to gather skill points. In this document, Wei Chen listed a huge amount of quests and explained the requirements of these quests in order to get an increased drop rate for skill books. With Yi Shu's knowledge of the game, he didn't need to do much testing to test the hypothesis in order to figure out the method's reliability. In the end, he had to admit that Wei Chen's research couldn't be considered a myth. The only thing he lacked was hard data that he himself had collected. In Wei Chen's research, he called all of these hidden conditions. The reason he was so confident was because glory didn't seem to be lacking in these types of hidden conditions. For example, the vast majority of skills had hidden effects that could be activated upon certain situations playing out. Because players used these skills so often, these hidden effects were eventually figured out. In that case, what other hidden conditions existed in glory? This was one reason for Wei Chen's efforts in researching how to increase the drop rate of skill books. Of course, Wei Chen also considered this as a method of becoming rich. The two had discussed this when discussing the contents of the document. "I've finished looking at the document you sent me." Yi Shu hadn't played the game for the last 2 days and had spent all his time studying the document. "What do you think? It's pretty sound, right?" Wei Chen replied on QQ. "Yeah, amazing." Yi Shu praised sincerely because he knew just how difficult it must have been to research all of this. Wei Chen had studied quests. He had searched through the forums and heard from rumors about the different places and quests with a chance of dropping skill books. Through these quests, he found the hidden conditions necessary to increase the drop rate of said skill books. Apart from daily quests, most quests couldn't be repeated. Non-repeatable quests made up most of the results from Wei Chen's research. What did this mean? It meant that Wei Chen had used numerous accounts in order to test his theory because each account could only try each quest once. Yi Shu didn't ask how Wei Chen had gotten all those accounts, but he could imagine how difficult it must have been. It wasn't possible for Yi Shu to not respect such effort. "Once our team starts using it, make sure it doesn't leak out," Wei Chen carefully warned. "Of course," Yi Shu said. "Come take a look at all the loot we got," Wei Chen said and sent Yi Shu screenshots of their regained equipment one after the other. With his gang of bros, Wei Chen wandered around the heavenly domain ambushing guild players. They didn't say a word to them and just killed them directly. This type of harassment wouldn't hurt the big guilds much, but they couldn't let it slide either. The guilds formed a hunting team in order to hunt down Wei Chen and his gang. Wei Chen happily clashed with them, sacrificing their accounts, while continuing to fill up their inventories. After 2 days, the stats of their 20 accounts were completely red. Their experience points were negative numbers. They were too lazy to count how many times they had died because they were more interested in the equipment they received during this period. As they died, their strength declined, making it more and more difficult to continue fighting. Even so, they still continued to bite at these guild players. The guilds were completely sick of them, but they learned from their previous mistake. This time, they didn't dare to release a bounty. Wei Chen's gang was with Lord Grimm. If they offered a reward, what would they do if these guys just killed themselves for the reward? Okay, save some strength to help me escape, Yi Shu said. The guilds weren't having a good time these last 2 days. Let alone the boss, the proof post was also very troublesome to deal with. A random team was ambushing their players every day. In addition to this, they had a group of players guarding Lord Grimm's log-off spot 24/7, but they had yet to see Lord Grimm log on. This time, they were determined to fight with Yi Shu though. They had the manpower anyways. If they just made the shifts shorter, no one would be as bitter about it. Whoever killed Lord Grimm would get a large reward, so the guild players had fairly high morale. Yeah, it's about time. We should hurry and get you out while our accounts still have enough strength to. If we're going to be spies, we can't get revealed yet, Wei Chen also replied. Yeah, I'll get an account too and help you guys, Yi Shu said. He asked Chen Guo to borrow her chasing haze. After logging into the game, he headed towards Poison Fang Swamp, where Lord Grimm had logged off at. Chapter 545. Rescue. The 8 guilds involved in the proof post were gathered at the boundaries of Poison Fang Swamp. Initially, only 5 of the guilds had hidden themselves to lie in wait for an ambush, but later, they invited the other 3 guilds to join in. Blue Brook Guild and Samsara had just been extorted by Yi Shu, so they happily accepted. Excellent Dynasty naturally accepted too. The guilds arranged the shifts for guarding this area. The method was a bit clumsy, but it was still better than nothing. Against a cunning god-level opponent, having an opportunity to kill him once was hard to come by. Yes, the 8 guilds just wanted to kill him once in order to vent their anger, but how would they have known that he wouldn't appear for 2 days? It was quite surprising to them. Lord Grimm won't log on? If this was permanent, it would be incredible news, but then again, how could it be possible? Of course it couldn't be. If he wasn't logging on, was he perhaps plotting something scary? The guilds thought of the little nincompoop complaining on the forums and suspected that it must have been the work of Lord Grimm. For a moment, they didn't know if it was better for Lord Grimm to be online or not. In any case, they had to hastily explain themselves on the forums and stay in position at Poison Fang Swamp. As for the reward they would receive for killing Lord Grimm, it had already been put up inside the guilds and would never been taken down. Why else had Wei Chen attacked Yi Shu with his identity as a member of the Blue Brook Guild? Overall, the deployment of the guilds was a bit sloppy. It wasn't a very careful formation, but rather more like a desperate action, but in any case, their superiors hadn't given them any new instructions, so the guild members simply followed orders and changed shifts constantly. Each of the 8 guilds sent a team of players for a total of 80 players. For convenience, they formed a group. As a result, the teams who arrived to take over the new shift would enter the group and then stare blankly into empty space. This sequence hadn't changed at all for the past 2 days. The players on shift weren't too bored though. The guilds had a lot of players. They just needed to randomly switch a few of them out every once in a while. No one would feel like the task was too repetitive. The only thing that repeated was Lord Grimm never showing up. At this moment, a team from Misty Castle arrived, ready to take over the new shift. The 8 guilds switched shifts at different times to avoid everyone coming at once and making the situation chaotic. Are you guys here? Yeah, we're here. Has Lord Grimm logged in yet? No. Whenever new players arrived on shift, they would often have a similar conversation. After some dialogue, the new team entered the group and the old team left. At this moment, 20 players lay in wait, secretly observing the situation. Wei Chen had already investigated this change of shift already. It wasn't any different than before. The enemy is quite fierce. By changing shifts at different times, we won't only be facing these 80 players. There's always backup on their way, Wei Chen said to Yi Shu. Is there always one team coming to change shifts every time? Yi Shu asked. Yeah, from what I saw this time and last time, this seems to be true, Wei Chen said. Then why don't we attack this team? Yi Shu asked. I thought of it, but from the main city to here, the space is very open. There isn't any place to ambush them from. We'll catch wind of each other way before we can get close, Wei Chen said. Yi Shu thought of the terrain and agreed. Afterwards, he said, then what about in the main city? It's a level 65 city and it's quite populated too. It would be best if we didn't go to a place with too many people, Wei Chen sighed. His team had gone to a city to repair their equipment, but the guilds somehow surrounded and massacred them. It had been a miserable day. So the only choice is to break through these 80 players? Yi Shu asked. It seems like it. Then let's do it, Yi Shu said. That's what I was going to do, but then you started spewing all that bullshit. Wei Chen cursed. Let's go from the 6 o'clock direction, Yi Shu suggested. Why 6 o'clock? Go from the 12 o'clock. We'll create a small hole. Then, you log on and run deep into the map. As long as you pull some distance from them, how could you not shrug them off with your strict control over your stamina? Wei Chen said. Old bro, I'm only level 54. I can't even use insect repellent smoke. Running deeper into the swamp isn't convenient for me. It would be better to run down the main street. Oh, I forgot about that, Wei Chen immediately realized. It wasn't that he lacked experience. There hadn't ever been a level 54 character in the heavenly domain, so players over here wouldn't consider things from that sort of perspective. Let's go then, Wei Chen led his team and changed directions. Don't be in such a rush. Let me cause a small disturbance first. Yi Shu was using chasing haze. Launchers had the longest range of the classes in Glory, so he dared to provoke these 80 players. Hurry up, Wei Chen impatiently urged. As soon as he said this, Yi Shu's chasing haze threw out a lighter, low and level. However, in the dark Poison Fang swamp, the light attracted everyone's attention. Who is it? A player on guard noticed the light, but with how Yi Shu threw the lighter didn't travel far, so it had already landed on the ground by the time the player noticed it. The player could only see light and couldn't tell what it was. What's wrong? The unaware players asked, when suddenly, they heard a loud bang and saw several heat-seeking missiles flying towards them. F***CK, it's an attack from above, someone shouted. Everyone began to move. The heat-seeking missiles would fly towards wherever the lighter had hit the ground. They hadn't seen the lighter, so they didn't know where to run. No one moved. The person who saw the light realized that the light was the guiding beacon for the heat-seeking missiles. He didn't have time to think where the lighter had come from. He only knew that if no one moved, everyone would be safe. However, at this moment, the one thing that couldn't be shouted was, no one move. Even something like telling everyone to move in a single direction would have been more believable. The shout aroused everyone's suspicion, especially because not everyone here was from the same guild. No one really trusted each other. Thus, it would have been better if he hadn't shouted anything at all. The shout made all of the guild teams run around like crazy. 3 players pounced directly towards the heat-seeking missile's landing spot. Not my fault. The player saw that no one was listening and actually felt happy seeing 3 players running towards the missiles. Bang! By the time the 3 had noticed that they really shouldn't have moved, the missiles had already reached them. A mushroom cloud popped up and the 3 went tumbling away. One player fell on a dried-up tree and couldn't get down. Team 1, Team 2, go take a look over there, someone spoke. This time, in this joint movement, there was an overall leader. Whoever was the group leader could speak. Because they changed shifts frequently, every guild had a chance to lead the group, so no guild would feel that the system was unfair, so there was no point arguing over it. Team 1's captain was the group leader. He gave the orders to personally check and also brought along Team 2. The 2 teams hastily ran over with their weapons clanking. When they arrived, the mushroom cloud had yet to disperse. Suddenly, a beam of light descended from the skies and, because of the mushroom cloud covering it, no one noticed it. This attack was very brave. People had to immediately rush over for the mushroom cloud to cover it, otherwise no one would have gotten hit by the light beam and the attack would have been wasted. But now? Satellite beam descended from the skies. The ones in front bore the brunt of the attack. The other players quickly got out of the way in fright. But then, the satellite beam split into multiple smaller pillars, which were controlled manually. The pillars didn't follow the set pattern and predicted the directions which the players would dodge towards. Team 3, perform a flank. Everyone else, search the surroundings. The group leader hastily ordered. The 8 guilds dispersed like water. Wei Chen didn't need Yi Shu to remind him. He could easily tell that it was a perfect opportunity to act. The enemies scrambled to figure out the situation, which gave them an opportunity to directly cut through them. Everyone ready, Wei Chen typed in the group chat. His gaze was locked onto the numerous players that were heading in his direction. Pop out and kill them all for me, Wei Chen shouted. 1, 2, 3. There are people here. When Wei Chen finished counting to 3, the other side noticed half of Windward Formation's head sticking out from behind a tree. The distance between the two sides was too close to escape. Wei Chen couldn't hide any longer, but he timed it perfectly. After counting to 3, he shouted a single word, attack. 20 players leapt out of their hiding spots and used their strongest moves. All of them were cursing at the same time too, saying things like F*CKU for 10,000 years. One wave of Aoi. Even though Wei Chen's group no longer had the same strength as other level 70 characters, their attacks combined together were enough to take down several enemies. The wave of attacks attracted the attention of the enemy. They looked and saw a whole bunch of familiar names. Weren't they the ones with bounties on their heads? Rumors said they went around bullying stray guild players. Were they hallucinating? Why would they attack such a huge group like them? Be careful. They're here to rescue Lord Grimm. Everyone, stay in formation. The group leader kept a clear mind and instantly figured out their intent. As soon as he said this, the dazzling light from the satellite beam dissipated. Lord Grimm had unexpectedly logged on in the middle of this and had already started running away.